What's up, troops? It's me, the Tactical Brit, and today we're having a look at Rising Storm Vietnam. Now, some of you have been around for a while may have noticed that this was a game that was kind of on my wish list. It was something that I wanted to introduce to the channel eventually, and today we finally have that opportunity, and I've also had a look at some aspects such as customization in some other videos as well. But I wanted to give you guys an overall impression of the current state of the game, things that definitely need improving, things that are promising, and just giving you guys an idea as to what Rising Storm 2 Vietnam can be all about. So first and foremost, let's have a look at the game in terms of the kind of nature of gameplay, how the sort of things you can look forward to when you're playing and how they all kind of pan out at the moment. And if I'm honest, things are actually relatively messy. Now, at the moment, Rising Storm Vietnam has some very good systems in place in terms of game modes, such as the Supremacy game mode, but there's a lot of things that are interfering with the overall experience and making things look a little bit clunky. Now, although the gameplay is looking fantastic in terms of guns and equipment and things like that, there's some overarching problems with the HUD and UI that are making things really difficult to enjoy at the moment. These are things that are simple fixes though, and nothing to be overly concerned about, especially considering the closed beta state of the game and the fact that there is a good while to go before this thing is released. Now, the problem that people are facing right now is you're seeing every couple of seconds a message popping up of this objective's being captured, this is happening, and it's just overarching, and it just completely dulls down the experience when you're trying to be immersed by this sort of Vietnam setting and these rockets going off and the sort of greenery around you and the gunplay of the Vietnam era, which is, you know, a very enticing and very appealing era to be in terms of a war game. And that kind of dynamic of the game where things are just really intrusive is getting in the way of enjoyment at the moment, and it's something that I'm personally not, you know, too fond of. Again, it's a couple of UI changes, a couple of HUD changes, a few things need a bit toning down here and there, but it's nothing that is particularly over the top. Now, moving onwards, let's talk about things like guns, gadgets, and the kind of things you can look forward to. And there's lots of specified roles in Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, and all of these kind of nicely come together in different squads, and all these squads are sort of commanded by one overarching commander of the team. And it's really great to see, like, the team play dynamic within this game can be really well utilized, and I've had a few games now where I'll be playing in a group of players, and it's really intense. You know, we've got guys who are setting down traps, we've got marksmen up on walls and up on ridges making sure that we're good, and, you know, it comes together in a way that makes sense and a way that's enjoyable, and that each role is utilized in a way that people can have a good time. You have different selections of weapons, different character customizations, and you feel as though, you know, your individuality in the game is there, and your individual difference making in your role can happen quite a lot, and I'm really enjoying that aspect of the game too. Now, graphically, let's talk about graphics, because this is something that's pretty important, and at the moment it's a bit of hit and miss, and I can't tell whether this is just the general direction of the game or as opposed to a few things they want to brush up, but there's some things that just aren't quite right. Now, there are some places in the maps that clearly haven't been finished yet. That's very obvious, and that's fine. But even on very high or ultra settings, things look a bit too cartoony for my liking. They kind of just feel as though they need a sort of a pass in terms of vividness, you know, like something needs to be bumped up to make it, all the characters and all the models and all the greenery and the weapons just slightly more vivid and a bit more rustic. I think people kind of want the rustic vibe to it, the sort of Bad Company 2 Vietnam rustic vibe, as opposed to this sort of semi-cartoonish vibe, and it's a bit discouraging. But I do have to say, at the whole, you know, being on the Unreal Engine, there's plenty of options for them in terms of graphical power, and I'm sure it's something that is going to change eventually. I'm sure once the maps are finished and once the HUD and the UI are a bit less invasive, everything will come together a bit more fluidly in their own style that will look good. But I'm just saying, things could maybe use a bit more grit and a bit more grind, which is what people expect about sort of the Vietnam era and what people want to see as a whole. But the overall gameplay experience has been quite promising, and although the closed beta space has kind of like given us some problems in terms of, you know, performances, you know, I'm using a 970 and an i7 4790K on an Unreal Engine game. I'm expecting to get in and around the region of 90 frames. At the moment, that's not happening, but again, you know, these are all things that will improve towards the final build of the game. There's some problems in terms of balancing. Certain times it can feel like some of the weapons from the Vietnamese side are too powerful, and then on the flip side of that, the US weapons seem too powerful sometimes. The abilities as well need a bit more balancing. You can have things like recon planes or bombers or napalm bombs or AC-130s, and these things basically just rip up the scene in a way that isn't too appealing at the moment. But again, there isn't sort of an overarching feel that there's something completely wrong with this game. Performance is good enough. I'm getting 60 frames. The abilities are there because they're cool abilities and they will be useful and utilized in a full team of players of 64 or more, and that's fantastic too, and that's just a simple balancing tweak. The weapons, a simple balancing tweak. The graphics, a simple graphical tweak. It's nothing too big, and I think that's what a lot of people fail to recognize when playing games that are in closed beta space, that it's nothing that can't be changed with a few decisions made by the devs and a few decisions in terms of updating and going past things. Now, as somebody who's been playing Squad a lot recently, I can understand the progression of development and how long things can take to get done, and as a whole, my main priority at the moment would be the immersiveness of the game. The overall feeling of teamwork and gunplay and all those kind of dynamics are already there. At the moment, they just need to make the game a bit more immersive, a bit more tactical, and a bit less in your face. I think the problem that they're trying to have is you've got all these tips popping up, you've got everything, you know, popping up around you. This objective's being captured, this is going on, and quite frankly, those things don't need to show up. They don't need to be there, and some of them are able to turn off, but most of them you can't. I don't need an announcer telling me that, you know, we've lost an objective. I can see that from the map, and it's something that's very simplistic to do. And, you know, they can take a leaf out of Squad's note, because Squad has a very sort of open and dynamic game style that makes the players look a bit more at what's going on, as opposed to directing them to it. You know, if we lose an objective in Squad, we check our maps, we're like, holy shit, that's been lost, we should go back there. It's not a case of the game saying, here's a big alert and an announcer saying, blah, 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 there's an objective being lost. And lots of these have already been addressed by the developers at the moment at Tripwire, and it's just not something that I'm overall concerned about. And I think the big picture with the current beta state of the game is that the potential is there, and that, you know, we can all see the potential in the game for those people who are in the closed beta state. You can see the team play dynamics, you can see the really good gunplay, the really good graphical potential of the game. It's all very much there, and there's nothing that is ringing off alarm bells in a way that Rising Storm players as a whole would be overly concerned about. And I think, you know, if you look at the game as a whole, with the rustic assault rifles, you know, the big maps, the interactive gameplay between squads and commanders, it's all on the table for a very successful title in the PC games. You know, a lot of people enjoy their tactical shooters, their slow pace, their, you know, high action, high thrills, and you get that from this game. You get your helicopters, you get your napalm bombs, and it's just all on the table, I'd say, for Tripwire Interactive to really capitalize off of and really, you know, just do well with. And, you know, I could give them a list of things that I'd like changed, and of course I probably will be doing that in the feedback forums, but this is just a good picture for you guys as to the current state the game's in and how things can be improved and what things do need to be improved. But on the whole, I think the general message is you should be excited for the game, because the potential is really on the board there for a fantastic title that I'm sure you're going to see more of on this channel. So guys, that's about it for me, the Tactical Brit, today. I hope you've enjoyed the gameplay and the quick commentary as to this video, and you know, we're going to see some more Rising Storm on the channel, hopefully in the not too distant future, especially when the game's undergoing the current improvements that it is in the state that it's in. So lots to look out for, and definitely some gameplay with perhaps some friends or devs on the game as well. Some live commentaries quite similar to what you've seen on Squad could be in the works. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video.